Chapter 24. What's a colony? This chapter gives us a great overview of the 13 colonies, along with an overview of what we can expect to learn in the upcoming chapters. You may already know that England had 13 American colonies. I'll list them in just a minute. First, do you remember what a colony is? A colony is a place that belongs to another country. Think about a landlord and a renter. England, France, Spain, Holland, Sweden, and Portugal were all landlords in parts of America. They thought they owned the place. Then their colonists, the renters, said, "We're tired of belonging to someone else. We intend to own our own land." When that happened, there were revolutions, and the landlords were forced to pack up and go home. The east coast of North America was an English colony from 1607, when Jamestown began, until the Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776. Those were colonial times. It was a long time. 1776 minus 1607 is, well, you can do the arithmetic yourself. When it comes to families, it was about 7 generations. That means from son to father, to grandfather, to great-grandfather, to great-great-grandfather, to great-great-great-grandfather, to, great 4 times grandfather. A lot of things can happen in 7 generations. So when you read about colonial times, don't be surprised if you read different descriptions. When the first colonists arrived, there were no friends to greet them. No houses were ready for them. They had to start from scratch, and I do mean scratch, as in scratching. The early colonists often had to live in huts of branches and dirt, or Indian wigwams, or even caves, and none of those places was bug-proof. And of course, they had to scratch a living out of the ground. Later, colonists lived in small wooden houses with 1 or 2 rooms. Eventually, some lived in fine houses. A few lived in mansions, with beautiful furniture and paintings and dishes and silver. But no one had bathrooms like you have, or electric lights, or a furnace, or running water, or kitchen appliances, and very few people lived in mansions anyway. You'll be reading about all 13 of the English colonies because they turned into the United States. To get started, we need some organization. We're going to divide the colonies into 3 groups: North, South, and Middle. Look at the map and you'll see the New England colonies, the Middle Atlantic colonies, and the Southern colonies. You know a whole lot about New England, so here's a test. Name the New England colonies. Go ahead, give it a try, I'll wait. Did you get them all? The New England colonies are Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. Did you goof and say Maine? Remember, Maine was not a separate colony. It was part of Massachusetts. We haven't said anything about Vermont. Today, Vermont is a New England state and a beautiful one, but it was not a separate colony. Remember, don't confuse states with colonies. The 13 colonies will turn into states when the Constitution is written and our nation, the United States, is formed. You already know about one southern colony, Virginia. You will learn about Maryland, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Some people call Maryland a middle colony, but I don't. Coming next in this book are the middle colonies: New York, New Jersey, Delaware, and Pennsylvania. First up is New York, where the Dutch are in control. It's hard for us to realize now that tiny Holland was once a great power. The Dutch had colonies all over the world. A business firm, the Dutch West India Company, owned most of the colonies, just as the Virginia and Plymouth companies owned English colonies. Jonas Michaelius came to New York in 1628. It was called New Netherland then, and the Dutch West India Company was in charge. That company had promised Michaelius a home in the New World. Here's part of a letter Michaelius wrote soon after he arrived. "The promise which the Lords Master of the company had made me to make myself a home is wholly of no avail. For their honors well knew that there are no horses, cows, or laborers to be obtained here for money. The country yields many good things for the support of life, but they are all to be gathered in an uncultivated and wild state. The Dutch West India Company made promises that couldn't be kept. The Virginia Company did the same thing at Jamestown, remember? Those early Virginia settlers really expected to find gold on the ground. The Puritans always told the truth about their colony. So did a man named William Penn who owned a colony. Yes, some individuals did own colonies. We'll get to William Penn and his colony when we finish with New Netherland. That small Dutch colony was just a trading post. The Dutch thought India, with its silks and spices, was much more important than America. But just in case America did turn out to be valuable, they decided to do some fur trading on this continent.